Everyone. So in this one, I want to cover Elliot Rodgers. Now, I wasn't familiar with Elliot Rodgers, but as I'm covering the Kohberger and Idaho 4 case, once I've covered something, sometimes things come up in my homepage, and it seems like a lot of people are saying that either Kohberger wanted to be like Elliot Rodgers or Ted Bundy are the two names. So you would have seen the last reading video that I did that has Ted Bundy, and previous to that there's a couple of other videos and coverage as well. Now what I want to do in this one is, and there's going to be some more parts on I feel like the 3:45 to 4:15 time frame on that date is worth looking into, so that's what I get there, as well as things like Zain was actually awake, because all I've heard is that they were killed in their sleep. I've said the K word, shit. So I'm going to cover more of that as things will start to come out. I also want to cover something about the DoorDash delivery. Now, while I'm here, I thought I'd Google Rodgers, this person they're on about, because I've not heard of his name. So firstly, it took a while for me to find, because it's getting spelt Rodgers when it's actually Rodgers. It's with a D, not Rodgers. So this is what I've got, and then I'm going to go into what I was getting in downloads. He was born in Lambeth, London. No comment. And he died in California. He was born in 1994. So that means he lived some of his life in the UK. Now, his picture, I've just closed it. Let's do it again. When I looked at his picture, for me, it was clear that either, maybe his parents lived in the UK, were British, but there's some kind of authentic background further down the line, or with one of the parents that is not originally British. And that's a lot of us. So this is his picture. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't have that total on a different look, but I felt it. And so who's familiar with this Elliot Rodgers? Elliot Oliver Robertson Rodger, born in 91, not alive anymore in 2014, was a British-American mass M who's known for Xing 6 people and injuring 14 others. He then committed had a manifesto, and is believed to be an incel. I don't know what an incel is, but we'll get to that. So I want to go into what I get around him, because if I put Brian, Ted, and this guy, I feel the most for this guy. And obviously the victims the absolute most. But what I'm saying is this guy, I think I just lost some of what I said. But this guy, obviously we feel the most for the victims. This guy for many years actually was crying out for help, and he wasn't getting it, and so it was getting worse, right? The reason this is my opinion, I don't know more about the case, I don't know stuff, I need to look at what they mean by an incel type person, but the reason I know it's the same person, I struggled to find him because of the Rodgers misspelling, is because there was a thumbnail that had Brian, Ted, and this guy. So when I finally found him, there was a picture that looked very similar to him. So I believe what I just showed you is the right person, and it's Elliot Rodgers. And there were signs very early on, and all the red flags that he was given and that were there wasn't enough attention being given. I feel like if he were to be now assessed as a younger child, he probably would have been put on antipsychotics. Whether that's the wrong thing or right thing, I'll leave that aside. I also feel that he might have had an issue with speaking. He suppressed expression. So there were flags in his earlier age. Now, they might say that there's issues with him and women and being rejected and all that stuff that's been happening. And I don't know, I don't understand why they have to link Bryan with one of these people. And I'll go into why I think they are, as well as content that will be found on his phone. But I'll go into Bryan in my following up. So this guy, I just want to show you, or give you the energy I get of him. I'm not channeling him, okay? And I'm not inviting spirit in. But I do get a problem with speech, a problem with it being able to express himself, which meant there was suppression. I also feel the problem, if there is a problem with females, there is definitely a problem with the mother side. Not that she wasn't a good mother, no, but it seems like maybe if it is ethnicity, maybe it's that part of is from the mother, whatever it is from the mother's side, made him feel, now we're talking quite a bit ago, right? 2000 and what date, what year was it that 2014? And he went to school in the 90s. So still there is that, it depends where he was in Lambeth, and maybe then he moved as a child, don't know when, to California, so we don't know that, but there's a sense of wherever he was, he didn't feel like he'd fit in. And I feel that that came from something where the mother, and it could be that ethnicity side, and I feel that that's the resentment that harbored, because he couldn't fit in. He didn't necessarily look like the other kids, or, there was a sense of lack of belonging and a gap there. And yes, I'm not saying that there isn't a resentment towards seeing people or couples happy, right? And there's an element of this that links to Bryan, and I'll go into that in the next part of Bryan, where I go into timings and stuff as well. But is different, right? So that's one thing. A lot of suppression in him was leading to this harboring, and there was red flags, right? So maybe they got him the help. Maybe he did have counselling or some mental health. There could be on the spectrum, especially if they couldn't find him, if there was a speech or a suppression of expression or something like that, or whether it translated in a learning disability or something, there was red flags. And I'll show you what I just made notes of as I thought about I wanted to do this. Rodgers did not root from women rejecting him. Yes, with regards to the woman, the issue would be around the mum. Was it her ethnicity? Was it her background? Was there something there? I don't mean the mother wasn't a loving mother or anything like that. I'm not tapping into that. And so that harboured, there was a root there already. I wouldn't be surprised if he had speech impairment, some issue around speech expression. He suppressed a lot within him. He wouldn't have talked a lot. If no one noticed it, he didn't talk a lot. He could have, with the suppression, tightened himself. He felt a lot of pain, and he wanted to inflict some of this pain on others. He really felt that he was misunderstood, and probably because he suppressed a lot and he couldn't speak or whatever it was. I see it now would be he would probably have been on antipsychotic drugs, and also the autism spectrum. There's a lot of suppression and a lot of red flags he got away with. Yeah, on the spectrum, and probably to calm his sort of impulses and stuff. Where was we? A lot of red flags that he would get away with. He didn't get the attention that he needed on those red flags. And although that some of them got noticed, but it didn't work to the attention that he actually needed. I'm not just like, you're good looking, or you got this job, or you got this car. Obviously, he was still quite young. And it just built and built and built. So, that meant continued and increasing higher risk behavior, higher pain within him that he wanted to inflict on others, especially others that he would see happy. And if he did start having rejection, he would have tried to get the attention or fit in, and I don't think that would have been working. So that also increased. And with the continued desperation, that's what I get. The increasing severity, impulsivity continued, but only increased, obviously. But the difference here is that he understood the guilt he had. And he understood where it was going in the final stages. And hence he X'd himself. Do I think would have done again? Yes. Do I think he would have been a mass on this kind of thing, like 14 injured or whatever was happening? No. Do I think that Kay might have studied him and seen like maybe something he's done? I mean, he's done a manifesto, so I don't know if it's recorded. If it's something that oozes like control, that you're going to see what I'm going to do or something like that, he would have studied it. I want to get to Kay because with him, the thing that, if anything, appealed on Elliot, it will be that manifesto, that control that he'd seen he had had. But Elliot's ending tells you, and this is all by spirit and me channeling in, okay? I don't think Elliot had like a sex kind of motive, right? And I could be wrong, but if they say there is that motive, it's not the root motive. I don't think that is a motive, that's not the motive. Sorry, I'm just going to say it, right? Regardless if there's an action that shows that. And again, he understood the severity, but at the same time, he was in a lot of pain, and that's why there was increasing of this of the compulsion and the increased amount, right, of what he was doing. So I presume the latter amount was when more people were actually injured. I presume for him to be able to take the next steps from the first whatever he did, it was all a very short span of time. So impulsivity. So going back to Kohberger, I think what would appeal here is probably the control, not of what happened, because to Kohberger, he will see like, well, you don't really have control because you X yourself in the end. But I feel like it's going to be the control of, maybe I'll control the world like a group, not just like I'm going to control one person. Something around his delivery of power might have appealed to Kohberger. I'm going to look into this a bit more, although it feels like it could be a bit darkish. I'm not channeling the individual, and I'm not inviting the spirit in. I'm channeling the energy of what I believe he was in and any spirit guidance that came in. So I hope you join the rest of the videos and the content. Please leave a comment on what you're enjoying, give a like, etc. Check the part where I've done Ted Bundy and the difference of the energy I feel there. And I will come back to Kohberger, and I might, if you're interested, let me know. Shall we do some card pulling on how he feels right now and the upcoming sentencing? because there's more I want to say about that. And also, I want to say about the DoorDash delivery, and I want to say about a failure there. Like, I can't believe this is not red flag, red light, apology, embarrassment of law enforcement. And I'll go into details in that maybe in a small clip, if you're preferring the small ones as opposed to longer. And like I mentioned, if you enjoy the content on the channel, I believe the channel is not supported by the algorithm. I can tell by the views, but I also appreciate those of you that watch the content and you give it a like, because I see large channels and I see the amount of views they have, and for the amount of views they have and the likes, it's very nominal, whereas on the channel the views are very nominal, which means the likes will be, but in percentage ratio there's some of you that are supporting and like a comment. Thanks for doing this. I understand that it's actually to help as well, so I appreciate those of you that are helping. And maybe, you know, there's something that needs to be done on the traffic of the channel, which what I understand a lot of the channels have done to make sure their channel does get into the algorithm. And I think it is a bit suppressed, and there is a problem with the channel from YouTube. But like the videos, so make sure you comment. I always ask, comment on the videos that you have, the content that you like. And don't forget to check the latest predictions. There is another mixed bag coming up that I've done, and I've taken some members and Patreon's questions. And if you are a loyal subscriber, obviously you can ask your questions. I will include it in the next one. The mixed bag can be quite nice. It's the light energy. I've changed, you know, I've not changed, but I'm doing those because they're lighter. Some of the questions are quite futuristic. Do check them out and check the latest predictions, because you'll see quite a bit has come through. And I'm just thinking while I'm doing this, should we check out what incel is? But I feel like some of you are going to be like, oh my gosh, this... How do you know what an incel is? So maybe I just leave it there. Take care, everyone. Stay blessed, and see you in the next one. Bye for now.